To keep her job, my mother became my sister. Left with my grandmother, I became the youngest darling in her heart. My parents never cared for me since childhood, but when I started earning $1 million a year, they suddenly appeared. Your brother is sick. You can't just ignore him. You are my child. You must support us. I held my grandmother's hand and said, sorry, but there's no law that says I have to support my sister and brother-in-law. The only person I've ever had to support is Ms. Fiona Duncan. My parents worked in a state-owned factory, and due to the one-child policy at the time, employees of public institutions were not allowed to have a second child. I had two older sisters above me, and once it was confirmed they were girls, they were aborted. Originally, I wasn't supposed to be born either, but a blind fortune teller told my mother that this pregnancy was a boy. Filled with joy, my parents bought boys' clothes and toys to welcome the birth of their son. My mother specifically chose a hospital in the county town instead of giving birth at the local clinic in our town. I came into the world with a wail, shattering my parents' dreams. They casually wrapped me in rags and returned the clothes and toys they had prepared in advance to the store. The store employee told them, "You bought these a long time ago and even removed the tags. Normally, we wouldn't accept returns. If we do it now, we can only refund half the price. It'd be better to just let your daughter use them." At the word daughter, my father bristled like a furious cat and snarled through gritted teeth, "Return them. That worthless girl doesn't deserve what was meant for my son." They were determined to have a son, and upon hearing the child had died, they could have another. The couple immediately carried me, wrapped in tattered swaddling clothes, to the riverbank in the county town. Perhaps it was fate that I should live that day. A blind fortune teller carrying his sign happened to pass by the bridge in the county town and insisted on giving me a free reading. After learning my exact time of birth, he calculated on his fingers and said, "A fortunate woman's destiny worth 6 taels and 5 mace. A woman's fate foretells no light blessings. Her kindness in deeds earns others' respect. Heaven bestows the foundation laid by King Wen. 800 years of wealth and honor await." Unable to understand the fortune teller's mystical words, my mother grew impatient and asked, "What does that mean?" "This lady is destined for nobility, born with a fortune's luck. In the future, the entire family will rely on her for prosperity. This goes without saying." Dad was slightly taken aback and, after a long pause, tentatively asked, "Can I still have a son? She is destined to have brothers. You too will see good news next year. Last time it was you who said this pregnancy would surely be a boy, and who would have thought it would be this little wretch?" Mom clearly didn't believe it, her tone resentful. "A blind fortune teller spouting nonsense." The blind fortune teller scoffed, "I preserved a financial lifeline for your family and secured a phoenix for your son. Instead of thanking me, you accuse me of spouting nonsense. Never mind, never mind. For a phoenix to land in your home is already a hardship. Better to let it follow the river's flow and be reborn into a better family." After the blind fortune teller left, my parents sat by the river for a long time. In the end, they still believed his words. What if I truly had the fate of a phoenix, capable of bringing immense wealth to the family? Wouldn't abandoning me mean throwing away their future? Yet, they were even more reluctant to give up their comfortable, enviable high-paying jobs. After a brief discussion, they took me back to my grandmother's hometown, Flower Village. That very night, Mom stuffed me, who was wailing loudly, into Grandma's arms. Grandma gently soothed me. "Sweetie, Grandma's sweetie. From now on your nickname will be Sweetie." "Lena, what's the child's formal name?" Under Grandma's tenderness, my crying stopped. Mom despised my gender and hadn't even prepared a name for me in advance. Even though they had already come up with several boy names, they refused to use any of them for me. "Mom, I can't keep her. If I do, I won't be able to have a second child. If I can't give birth to a boy, I'll have no status in the Harry's family. I'll be laughed at and never be able to hold my head high for the rest of my life." Grandma hesitated and said, "But are you willing to give up your job? Your workplace doesn't allow you to have a second child." Dad chimed in from the side, "That's why we rushed back overnight to discuss it with you, Mom. Lena and I want this child to be registered under yours and Dad's household." "Mom, you're still young. If you have a daughter, no one would suspect anything. For my sake, for my job, and for my family, please treat your granddaughter as your own daughter." The awakened grandfather, hearing the discussion, ran out of his room without even putting on his shoes. He loudly retorted, "Lena, no way. My old face was already shamed once by your mother. Do you want me to lose face again?" "That's absolutely impossible." Seeing this, Mom still wanted to say something. Dad pulled Mom aside as they walked out, saying, "Lena, let's go. Your mother won't abandon her. If she doesn't raise the child, she'll let it die. Carrying a life's burden on her conscience won't sit right with her." From birth until I was brought to Grandma's house, I hadn't had a single drop of milk. I cried until my voice was hoarse. Little did I know that my grandmother had sacrificed so much to keep me alive. "I told you, we're not keeping her. You take her out and throw her away right now. While the river is swollen in summer, you send her to the river god," my grandfather commanded. "If you want her dead, you'll have to kill me first. From now on, Sweetie is my youngest daughter. If you dare lay a finger on her, I won't hesitate to make you pay with your life," my grandmother said coldly and resolutely, while my grandfather stood stunned. My grandmother carried me into the night. She carried me, my voice hoarse from crying, and knocked on the neighbor's door. "Good sister, please give my little Sweetie a sip of milk." The kind-hearted woman pulled my grandmother inside, lifted her shirt, and revealed her fair, plump breasts. As if by instinct, I immediately latched on and began sucking the milk with delight. The woman gently soothed me, humming a lullaby as she fed me until I was full. A month later, my grandmother took me to register my household. Paying the fine for having a second child, she named me Mia. Yang was my grandfather's surname, and Lu was hers. That year, my 37-year-old grandmother had a youngest daughter. Later, in her diary, I read my grandmother's words, "If possible, I would have preferred you to take my surname rather than his," nursing from Aunt Helen. I grew up quickly. When I was learning to walk, my grandmother murmured with mixed emotions, "Your sister is pregnant." I called my grandmother, Mom, and Aunt Helen, Godmother. It wasn't until I grew up that I realized the sister my grandmother referred to was actually my biological mother. Giving birth is painful. Your sister was willing to go through hell twice just to have a son. She was never a strong person growing up, but she was exceptionally determined about this. I couldn't understand Grandma's words, so I could only babble at her. "Mama, hug. Sweetie wants a hug." Grandma picked me up, resting her chin gently against my cheek, and said softly, "Sweetie, don't be like your sister, not taking your own life seriously." When I was 2 years old, my brother, oh no, my little nephew, was born. Grandma took me to the county town to visit Lena in the hospital bed. Her face was pale, yet filled with joy. "Mom, I gave birth. I finally have a son." She eagerly shared her joy. "I carried 4 pregnancies before finally having a son. He will surely achieve great things in the future." Grandma, with tears in her eyes, whispered softly, "It must have been so painful, Mom." "No matter how painful it was all worth it. If you could have, you would have wanted to give me a little brother too. With a son, old he and I finally have the motivation to strive. Your grandson weighs a full 10 pounds, a big, chubby boy. He really put me through the ringer. I feel like everything down there is torn and numb. The doctor said I have severe pubic symphysis diastasis, that I might be paralyzed from the waist down." Grandma widened her eyes in disbelief and said, "Paralyzed? Can it be cured? I still have money. I'll give it all for your treatment." Mom chimed in, "But it will require a long period of rest. The doctor said it's quite normal for someone like me." "Mom, you should take out the money sooner, so I can start treatment earlier." Grandma squatted in front of me and said gently, "Sweetie, stay here with your sister and little nephew. I'll go get the money and come back to pick you up." I didn't like the little nephew because when I tried to touch his lotus root-like little hand, Harry hit my hand hard. My hand instantly swelled and turned red. He glared at me displeasedly. "Don't touch my son with your dirty hands." Lena on the hospital bed comforted him. "Honey, don't hit Mia. She has a phoenix's fate. Our son will depend on her bride price in the future. She's only 2 years old. What could she possibly remember? If we don't hit her, what if she has some disease and infects our son?" Clutching my reddened hand, I huddled in the corner, missing my grandmother. People kept coming into the ward to offer congratulations. I saw Lena's mother-in-law excitedly kissing her grandson's tiny feet. She lifted the swaddling cloth, revealing the baby's genitals, and proudly announced to relatives and friends, "A son, it's a son. Our Harry's family has had only one male heir for 3 generations, and now we finally have a successor." I stared at my little nephew's lower body, puzzled by the extra piece of flesh that was so conspicuously present, wondering why I didn't have that. Before nightfall, my grandmother returned to the ward. She had withdrawn all her savings and given them to Lena. "You must focus on getting better. Mom believes you'll recover for sure." Lena, now holding the money, beamed with joy and said, "Mom, it's so late now. The food and lodging in town are expensive, and I know you're used to saving. Take my sister and hurry home before it gets dark." Grandma had given all her money to Lena and couldn't afford the bus fare. Carrying me on her back, she trudged step by step toward home. I don't remember how long we walked. I only remember falling asleep on Grandma's back under the moonlight. When I woke up, the morning dew had soaked my grandmother's pant legs, the red sun rose from the mountain peaks, and we were still on the road. She carried me like this, walking from night until dawn, from dawn until the sunset. Sweetie, my poor sweetie, Sweetie isn't poor, Sweetie loves sleeping on Mommy's back. How about Mommy makes sweet poached eggs for Sweetie? Okay, when I was 6 years old, my grandmother enrolled me in elementary school. Back then, most girls didn't go to school. And my grandfather didn't approve of me studying either. "You're already feeding and raising her. Isn't that enough? Why bother sending her to school? You'd be better off spending that money on your grandson's education." "I didn't spend a single penny of yours." "Shut up and keep quiet," Grandma retorted firmly. Villagers also mocked Grandma, saying she treated her youngest daughter like a treasure in her old age. People who don't know might think it's a son. Paying tuition to send her to school is such a waste of money. She and her eldest daughter didn't get much education. She's putting on airs, trying to raise a college graduate. Daughters are all meant to marry out. This money is surely going to be wasted like drawing water with a bamboo basket. Grandma paid no heed to the outside voices. She sold all the piglets from the sow, planning to use the money for my school fees. Lena, whom we hadn't seen in years, suddenly returned. She brought along her chubby little nephew and taught him to call her Grandma. "Say, hello, Grandma, hello, Grandma." Grandma gently stroked her little grandnephew's head. "He's been fed to the point of being too chubby. Helen says it's not good for children to be too fat." "Mom, what do you know? This is a blessing. Helen is just a half-baked barefoot doctor. What does she know about raising children?" Lena retorted unhappily. Grandma said awkwardly, "I was just making an offhand comment. Take it or leave it. You're back, and you haven't even seen Sweetie yet. She misses you." I stood at the bedroom door, cautiously peeking out with my little head. I didn't miss Lena at all. In fact, I was a little afraid of her. I loved Grandma. She always spoke softly and gently, while Lena was loud and stern. "Why look at her, to see how spoiled she is," Lena said sharply. "Mom, Mia's just a girl. School won't do her any good. If you've got money, you'd better give it to Precious. Girls aren't as smart as boys. She won't get into college. It'll just be a waste of money. I came to ask you to give me the money from selling the piglets instead of wasting it on Mia." "Lena, she's also your child. Giving to Precious is useful, but giving to Sweetie is a waste. As a mother, you're being too partial. That's just how parents are. In the future, sons will take care of us in old age, while daughters will marry off." "Do you really expect her to support me in my old age?" Lena said impatiently. "If I weren't an only child, you wouldn't have given me all your love. If I had a younger brother, you'd definitely make plans for him too." I successfully started elementary school, and Grandma stubbornly refused to give the money to Lena. There were very few girls in the class, mostly boys. The boys are noisy and mischievous, saying that Grandma is an old oyster producing pearls. Some even argue in front of me that Grandma is not my mother but my grandmother, and that my mother is actually my elder sister. Even worse, some say Grandma is useless, having lived over 40 years and only given birth to 2 daughters, not a single son, so no one will take care of her in her old age or perform her funeral rites. Most of the words from their mouths are things they've heard at home, and I understand that. Godmother Helen's son Jim was taller than most kids. He treated me like a little sister, stood up for me, and taught the classmates who bullied me a lesson, filled with questions. After school that day, I did something unprecedented. Instead of going home, I followed Jim to his house. "Godmother, why can't my mom have a son? You know medicine. Why don't you give her a packet of sun medicine?" From my earliest memories, sons were the beloved treasures of parents, while daughters were just wild grass left to grow as they pleased. If I were a boy, the people in Flower Village wouldn't gossip about Grandma anymore, and I could be the heir who can take charge and stand on their own, that they always talk about. Something only sons are supposed to be. Silly Mia, there's no such thing as a sun medicine. Those selling gender-changing pills are all frauds. Your mom couldn't have a son because she had a difficult labor and massive bleeding when your sister was born. If it weren't for my mom's acupuncture, she wouldn't have survived. After your sister, she couldn't have any more children. Helen's explanation left me momentarily unable to process it. Jim suddenly interjected, if Aunt Fiona couldn't have any more children after Mia's sister was born, then where did Mia come from? Godmother was momentarily speechless, as if struck by lightning. Her face filled with regret, she self-punishingly slapped the corner of her mouth. Damn it, I'm damned. What nonsense am I spouting? I get it. Jim excitedly grabbed my hand, his face full of admiration. Mia, you must be like the great sage equal of heaven, born from a stone. You must know magic, and you'll become an immortal who fights monsters in the future. I pulled my hand away from Jim's grip. I wasn't born from a stone, and I don't want to fight monsters. I ran home crying. And Jim cried too. His godmother gave him a beating, and he wailed even longer than I did. The next day, Jim surprisingly didn't wait for me to go to and from school together. It wasn't until my birthday that he awkwardly picked a bunch of wildflowers and apologized to me. Mia, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have called you a monkey. You should be a fairy. While cutting pigweed, Grandma fainted and was taken to the hospital, where they said she had a tumor in her lower abdomen. Before the doctor could explain the treatment plan, Grandpa spoke first. I have no money, no treatment, no treatment. Lena also came, full of impatience, questioning Grandma. Mom, how could you get such a dirty disease? Did you betray Dad again? What is a dirty disease? I don't understand. I understand betrayal, but why, again? Grandma is definitely not the kind of bad person who would betray. When I gave birth to Precious before, my body didn't fully recover, and I lost my job. Our family relied entirely on old he alone, and we simply couldn't spare any extra money for your treatment. I know, being sick is painful, being sick makes your whole body feel terrible, and you have to take extremely bitter medicine. I don't want Grandma to get sick. I want her to be well. I want her to watch me grow up, see me go to college, and start working. Big sister, please save my mom. You must have a way. I knelt on the ground, clinging to Lena's leg. Grandpa has always been cold and heartless. I don't expect him to save Grandma. Lena is different. The person on the sickbed is her mother. As long as she finds a way, it's definitely possible. Sweetie, get up. I won't allow you to be so spineless. You're not allowed to kneel. I want to kneel. I want to save Grandma. That's how it's shown on TV. Lena pulled me out of the ward and even took me outside the hospital to eat beef noodles. This was my first time eating beef noodles, after just one bite. I wanted to save the rest for Grandma. Sister, can I save this for Mom? This is for you. I'll buy more for Mom later. The beef is delicious, and Mom is sick. She needs to eat more meat to regain her strength. Ask the boss to add a little extra. Okay, I'll ask the boss to add more, Lena said gently. Now, it's time for us to do our part to save Mom, right? Right, sister, I'll do anything you ask, as long as it helps treat Mom's illness. It's actually quite simple. There's a wealthy family with no children. They've seen your birth chart and want to adopt you as their goddaughter. You'll live a life of comfort. They'll give me a sum of money, and we can use it to treat Mom's illness. How does that sound? I understand. I'm Aunt Helen's goddaughter, and she's been very good to me. Now there's one more person who's kind to me and can even save Grandma. I'm willing. Okay, I eagerly agreed. As Lena took the money, I was led into the enormous house. Gazing at the exquisitely decorated house, I fantasized about how wonderful it would be if Grandma could live in such a beautiful place too. I hope that Grandma will recover and come to take me home. My new godparents are very strict with me. They forbid me to mention Grandma or talk about going home. It wasn't until I overheard them whispering in private that I learned my sister had sold me. When the time is right, we'll transplant her heart to our precious child. Why should my precious child suffer so much misfortune, while that ordinary kid remains healthy and safe? We have money, our Precious will definitely be fine. I seized the opportunity, slipped past the nanny who was watching me, suppressed my fear of the big wolfhound in the yard, and climbed over the wall. I ran towards the crowded area, shouting, "Someone wants to take my heart. I need to find the police." I was sold by my own sister. My name is Mia, and my mother's name is Fiona. A kind passerby took me to the police station. At 8 years old, I already knew my home address by heart and could even recite the phone number of the small grocery store in Flower Village. My grandmother came that same day, still wearing her hospital gown. She held me, soothing my nervousness. "Sweetie, Mommy is here. Mommy will never lose you again. Mommy didn't lose me. It was sister who sold me." Lena is suspected of human trafficking and, by law, she must serve prison time. If the grandmother, as the legal guardian, does not appeal, she may avoid jail time. Lena kept kowtowing in the police station. Mom, I never intended to sell my sister, I just wanted her to have a better life. She was only adopted. This isn't human trafficking. Mom, I can't go to jail. If I do, Precious won't be able to join the civil service or the military in the future. His dream is to become a soldier. I can't have this stain on my record. I beg you, for your grandson's sake, don't appeal. You sent Sweetie away, so you should have known. Without Sweetie, I can't live. You didn't even care whether I lived or died, so why should I give you a chance? Grandma held me tightly in her arms, unwilling to let go even a little. I'm your only biological daughter. How could you be so cruel to me? Even if you selfishly disregard my and Precious's future, you can't ignore Mia. With a tainted sister like me, she won't have an easy life either. Grandma fell silent. After a long pause, she sighed and said to Lena, who was crying her heart out on the floor, just this once, if you dare to lay a finger on Sweetie again, I won't mind not having you as my daughter. I returned to Grandma's side once more, as I grew older. I gradually became more sensible. I know, Grandma is not mom, and sister is not sister, but that doesn't matter. What matters is that I must work hard to give Grandma a good life. From the gossip I heard in the village, I gradually pieced together the reason why Grandpa was so cold and indifferent to Grandma and me. It turned out that Lena was not Grandpa's child. Back then, Grandma fell in love with an educated youth who came to the countryside to teach, and they had Lena. The educated youth promised to inform their parents and come back to fetch Grandma once they returned to the city, but Grandma, with her growing belly, didn't wait for the educated youth. Instead, she waited for Grandpa's family to propose marriage. Grandpa didn't mind Grandma's pregnancy, but Grandma's parents felt she had brought shame upon the family. They accepted the young family's betrothal gifts and married her off. However, when Grandma gave birth to Lena, she suffered a difficult labor and severe bleeding, leaving her unable to bear children again. This became an everlasting sorrow in Grandpa's heart. He has changed, becoming cold-hearted and selfish. Grandma wanted a divorce, but Grandpa wouldn't allow it. Grandpa said, Fiona, in life you are mine, in death you are my ghost. Don't keep thinking about your lover. He doesn't want you. He never did. Your lover is an educated man. How could he ever fancy a country woman like you? He's already climbed the social ladder and married someone else. You owe me, and you'll spend your whole life paying me back. The idle gossip didn't affect Grandma, who diligently managed her small plot of land and the sow with piglets in the pig pen. She kept all the money tightly in her own hands. The village children all envied me, saying I was the happiest kid because Grandma would give me pocket money to buy snacks. She said, pocket money is for buying snacks. The money for your stationery and books is separate. I have money, so don't worry about not having enough. I buy snacks and share them with other kids. Of course, the one who shares the most is Jim. Even though he once called me the Monkey King, he did apologize after all. What can I say? He's my brother. When I was 12, state-owned enterprises underwent restructuring, and Harry, who had held an iron rice bowl, lost his job. I got accepted into a middle school in the county town, and Grandma insisted on sending me there to study, which made both Harry and Lena unhappy. They still believed that Grandma's money should all be left to Precious. I didn't like them, and when Grandma asked me to visit their house for the new year, I refused. Grandpa sneered from the side, your grandma is doing this for your own good. Can your grandma support you for the rest of your life? She's old and will die someday. Sooner or later, you'll have to go back to your parents. If you don't please your parents now, you won't even have a place to live in the future. They're not my parents, only Fiona is my mom. She'll live a long life, and we'll live together in a big house. Grandma rented a place in the county town to live. While I was in school, she worked as a nanny for others. Grandma's employer was very kind, often giving her things, whether it was fish or chicken. It wasn't until later that I found out Grandma had bought fresh fish and free-range chicken at the market. Worried I might be malnourished, afraid I'd scold her for wasting money, she deliberately lied, saying they were gifts from her employer. Only in hindsight did I realize it was Grandma's well-intentioned white lie. She even tricked me by saying, I love chicken heads and fish heads. They taste absolutely delicious. But who in their right mind would prefer bony chicken and fish heads over tender meat? Grandma is a big liar. She's deceived me more than once. She told me the tumor in her lower abdomen was gone, that it had been removed at the hospital, but later I found out the tumor was never removed. Instead, it had grown even larger. On my way home from school, before even stepping inside, I could already smell the fragrance wafting from the house. I pushed the door open and asked, "Mom, what did you make today?" But the person I saw wasn't my grandmother, it was my grandfather, whom I hadn't seen in a long time. He was drinking quite a bit with some braised dishes, and shattered liquor bottles were scattered all over the floor. "Mia's back." Grandpa waved at me with a smile. "Come here, have a couple of drinks with me." I instinctively tried to run, but my drunken grandfather blocked my way. His strength was surprisingly great as he forcefully pulled me toward the bedroom. "Good girl, Mia, you've grown more and more beautiful, just like your grandmother in her youth. Come, Grandpa will show you a big treasure. I guarantee you'll love it so much you won't want to let go. You'll have to marry someone sooner or later, rather than letting an outsider benefit. Why not let me have you first?" I screamed for help, desperately kicking my grandfather, my wrists turning red from his grip. As a 14-year-old girl, I was no match for my tall and burly grandfather. Terrified, I burst into tears, crying out in pain for rescue. I was thrown onto the bed. As my grandfather undressed, I looked for a chance to escape, but he grabbed my ankle and dragged me to the floor. "Your grandmother couldn't give me a child, so you should have one for me. Don't let the Bob family line die out with me." I collapsed to the ground, my forehead split open, blood staining my vision. My head spun, and I couldn't see clearly. "Grandpa, please let me go. I'll earn money for you in the future," I pleaded weakly, hoping he would spare me. "Good girl, Mia, once you become a woman, you'll understand what pleasure is." Bang, the devil's claws could no longer harm me, for my guardian angel had arrived. Grandma, who had just returned from grocery shopping, smashed a liquor bottle over Grandpa's head. Grandpa collapsed to the ground. Grandma helped me up, briefly bandaged my wounds, and took me to the police station. "I want to sue my husband for attempted rape of a minor. The wounds on my body and the testimony of neighbors can prove my grandfather's crime." After being arrested, my grandfather even shamelessly yelled at my grandmother, "You can't bear children for me, so you owe me compensation." Having Mia compensate me seems just right. What do you mean by attempted rape of a minor? Back then, you gave birth to Lena at 17. Wasn't that a case of successful rape by your lover? Why didn't you sue him for rape? If I go to jail, Precious won't be able to join the military or work in government jobs anymore. Do you think Lena will hate you for this as her mother? Grandma was determined to make Grandpa pay, and Lena came again. She cried bitterly, clinging to Grandma's leg. "Mom, think about Precious. His grades are poor. And Lau, he and I planned for him to join the military after finishing middle school. If Dad goes to jail, Precious will have a grandfather with a criminal record. He won't pass the political vetting and won't be able to enlist." You keep talking about Precious, but have you thought about Mia? No matter how big the issue, running away won't solve it, Grandma said sternly, a rare tone for her. "Let Precious come and tell me himself. Does he care more about his sister's suffering or his own future?" Lena looked up and tentatively asked, "Did Precious say that the future is important, so you let Dad go?" The breath in Grandma's chest dissipated instantly, and she said no more. Lena rushed excitedly to the school to find Precious. Grandma gazed at the sky and asked me, was I wrong? I held Grandma's hand in return, wanting to tell her that she wasn't wrong, and that I could give up the opportunity to take the civil service exam or join the military. I wasn't wrong. My sweetie shouldn't have to suffer any injustice. Grandma muttered to herself. Lena pushed Precious in front of Grandma and shouted excitedly, "Quick, beg your grandma. Your grandpa is your direct relative, and since he's in prison, it will affect your political screening for joining the military, even if you really don't want to take the civil service exam or join the military. You can't just casually give up such an opportunity." Precious awkwardly lowered her head, as if sulking. "I don't want to join the military anyway. It's so tiring. I want to go to vocational school to study fashion design." "You're being foolish. What future is there in studying fashion design? What kind of boy studies that kind of major?" Lena shouted in frustration. "Then I can't let my sister suffer. Didn't you see the injury on her head?" Precious looked up, cautiously glancing at me. I had long known that Lena was my mother and Precious was my brother. I didn't understand why I had to stay with my grandmother instead of being with my parents. I hated Precious, hated that he was a boy who could receive more love from people. I, who had originally disliked him, suddenly felt a sense of relief in that moment. He had never spent time with me, yet he was willing to speak up for me. I became curious. How could someone as selfish as Lena raise a child like Precious, you idiot? You're going to be the death of me, Lena said, poking Precious's head hard with her finger. I had to abort your two older sisters to have you. When I gave birth to you, my pubic bone separated severely, leaving me bedridden for half a year, and I even lost my secure government job. Precious dodged Lena's hand and hid behind her grandmother, flashing a smile at me. Mom, it was you who wronged Dad in the first place. You couldn't give him a child, if he hadn't been so heartbroken. How could he have done such a thing? Besides, Dad didn't actually assault her, did he? If Dad hadn't married you when you were heavily pregnant, the village gossip would have drowned you long ago. Dad gave you a home, and you owe him. It's only right that you compensate him. Mom, please, let Dad go. Grandma was so angry that her chest heaved uncontrollably, unable to speak, and she immediately slapped her. Lena, don't call me Mom. I don't have a daughter like you. Grandpa was sentenced. And Grandma took my hand to the courtroom to witness the trial. She told me, no matter when, you must pick up your weapon and protect yourself. Don't let temporary pain keep you in constant distress. The fault was never yours. It lies with the criminal. You should live brightly, bravely, and with strength. Grandma sending Grandpa to prison became the talk of the village. During my winter break back in the village for New Year, I could faintly hear their gossip. Fiona is truly heartless. Sending her husband to prison and single-handedly crushing her grandson's dream of joining the military. Doesn't she just not love her husband at all? She's never given Bob a kind look. Bob is such a good man. Back then, if Bob hadn't married her when she was pregnant, she might have ended up a widow, like Helen, a widow who lost her husband. Bob was just drunk and mistook Mia for her. That little brat is practically a mini version of Fiona. It's only natural he got confused. All these years, Bob has respected and honored her, even tolerating her inability to bear children. What man is as magnanimous as Bob? If it were in my family, such a woman would have been beaten to death long ago. Bob doesn't even hit her. What a spineless man. As I passed by the village entrance, those gossipy women deliberately raised their voices, speaking for me to hear. Grandma once said that gossipy people are just idle and bored. Don't panic or lose your composure, or they'll think you're exactly as they say. I slowed my pace and glanced over. Oh, after just a few years of junior high in the county town, you think you're something special, the way you look at people, like you could eat them alive. Girls don't have the same staying power as boys, and they don't do as well in school. I see some people who can't even get into high school, yet they still dream of going to college. It's pure fantasy. Fiona just can't face reality. She used to dream of her educated lover taking her to the city for a life of luxury. Now she's still hoping Mia can go to college. The woman is ridiculous. The money earned from being a nanny for wealthy families was all wasted on that useless girl. I'm afraid she'll squander even my burial savings. She's not as good as our second daughter, who went to work in the factory early and now sends home 1,000 yuan every month to support me and her father. Studying to death is worse than marrying early. What's the use of a girl reading so many books? I took their words to heart and silently vowed, I will go to high school, take the college entrance exam, and study at the best university in the province. Grandma used to say, don't argue with a gossip. The more you engage, the more excited they get. Damn busybody. My sweetie didn't eat your food or spend your money. What's it to you? Pfft. Grandma appeared out of nowhere with a bucket of manure. Normally peace-loving, she flung it at them. Don't shout at my sweetie. She's been scared of dogs since she was little. Growing old is one thing, but why turn into a monster later? I learned from my grandmother's diary that her unprecedented act of splashing manure that day was because she believed the gossip from those busybodies would affect my mood and was worried about my upcoming high school entrance exam the following year. In her diary, she wrote, my sweetie is so well behaved. She shouldn't have her studies affected by these foul-mouthed hags. I was admitted to the best high school in the county, and due to my excellent grades, the school waived my tuition and fees. Grandma continued working as a nanny for wealthy families. She told me that her employers had a villa, and the house was exceptionally beautiful, nestled in her arms. I made her a promise, then I'll buy a villa for you to live in, and hire people to take care of you. Me, I just hope you'll make something of yourself and live life on your own terms. A villa is just a house, a place to live. It's not worth spending so much money on. Then I'll build a fancy house in the village. When that happens, everyone in the whole village will envy you. Then work hard and strive to be the first college student from our village. After entering high school, I found studying increasingly difficult and suddenly remembered what the village gossips had said. They said, girls don't have the same staying power as boys, and they don't study as well either. Look at some people. They can't even get into high school. Yet they dream of going to college. It's pure fantasy. Seeing my exam results, I couldn't help but wonder if I really wasn't as good as the boys after entering high school. I went home with my poor report card, too afraid to take the initiative to show it to my grandmother for her signature. Seeing my grades, my grandmother signed it promptly. Their good grades might be because they attend extra classes. You've never had any, and yet you've achieved this. It's already outstanding. But with these grades, I can only get into a third-tier college. The school I want to go to is the best university in the province. You can't become fat in one bite. You have to take things step by step. Tomorrow, we'll sign you up for extra classes too. Can I really make up for the missed classes? Of course, I have the money. Grandma, why are you so good to me? Ever since attending my parent-teacher meeting, Grandma hasn't let me call her Mom anymore, she said. I'm not your mother to begin with. If you had a mother this old, your classmates would laugh at you. Grandma patted my head and explained, because Sweetie is my youngest daughter. Instead of asking Grandma to find me a tutor outside, I shamelessly and persistently bothered my high-achieving deskmate and teachers with questions. Both the teachers and classmates were very kind, always willing to help me. My grades gradually improved. I wanted to tell my grandmother that I had a study partner now. Her name is Winnie. True to her name, she's gentle and gives people warmth. The final exams ended early, and I made a special effort to return home ahead of time, only to see my grandmother applying medicated oil. Grandma, I exclaimed in surprise. What's wrong with you? Grandma quickly pulled down her sleeve, unwilling to let me see the bruise on her arm. Sweetie, don't worry, I accidentally fell and hurt my arm while walking. It's really nothing serious. Grandma doesn't feel any pain, not at all. Terrified, I burst into tears and ran over to apply medicine for her. Sweetie, blow on it for Grandma, and the pain will go away. I gently blew on the bruise on my arm, unaware that the full bottle of safflower oil had already been used up by more than half, while the strong medicinal scent of safflower oil lingered on my grandmother's body. Once again, I was deceived by her. Not knowing that beneath her clothes were nothing but dark bruises, naively, I thought she had only hurt her arm and threw myself into her embrace, causing her to grimace in pain. Fearing I might notice something amiss, she gritted her teeth and endured it all, not wanting to distract me from my studies. Later, when I took my grandmother for a full-body checkup, I learned that she had endured so much hardship for me. Her ribs were even broken, yet I remained oblivious, basking in her love and care. On the day of the college entrance exam, my grandmother came to see me off, dressed in a specially purchased dress, wishing me a triumphant start. I focused entirely on the exam, only to find a police car waiting at the school gate. When I came out, I was taken into the police car, and Winnie, who was with me, didn't let go of my hand out of fear. Instead, she tentatively asked the officer, "What happened to Mia? Why are you taking her away? It's just a summons, she'll be fine." My hands trembled uncontrollably from nervousness, and my intuition told me something very bad was happening. "Then I'll stay with her." Winnie insisted on accompanying me. We went to the police station and only then found out that Grandma had stolen valuables from her employer's house, and the police also found the employer's sapphire necklace in our rented little house. Ms. Fiona was taken away after dropping you off at the exam venue. The person who filed the report insisted on seeing you, saying you were also involved. My mother didn't steal the necklace from her employer. She's worked there for many years. She's not that kind of person. I tried to defend Grandma. Do you have some old grudge with the person who filed the report? She doesn't seem to care about the lost necklace but rather wants to prevent you from taking the college entrance exam, the police officer inquired. She repeatedly accused you of stealing and insisted on disrupting your exam. I shook my head. I had never even met my grandmother's employer before. The police took me to meet my grandmother's employer in the lounge. The moment I saw the wealthy lady, I instantly recalled the affluent couple I had met as a child. I recognize her. Her daughter has a heart condition. Back then, my sister sold me to their family because they wanted to use my heart for her daughter. I managed to escape, and it was the police who brought me back home. Do you remember the exact time? I provided the exact time, and the officer swiftly turned to search for the case records from that year. The noble woman had aged, and she glared at me with intense resentment. Why couldn't my daughter live? Well, not only are you alive and well, but you can even take the college entrance exams. If you hadn't run away back then, my daughter wouldn't have died. I'm determined to ruin your future. How I regret not locking you up directly and letting you take the college entrance exams smoothly. So, all these years, has Grandma been working in their household? They knew all along that the nanny in their home was my relative, and they waited this long just to destroy me. So, my mother never stole the gemstone necklace at all. You deliberately framed her, the noblewoman, knowing there were no surveillance devices in the lounge, said triumphantly. Yes, I did it on purpose. If you search carefully enough, you can find other things in that shabby rented house of yours. You're both over 18 now. And I'm going to send you both to jail. My goal achieved. I turned around and left. Winnie handed me an MP3 with recording functionality when I entered the police station. I never expected that Winnie's unintentional action would actually help me. The police found the report records from that year, combined with my recording and the forensic evidence of traces from someone other than me and my grandmother in the rental house, ultimately ruling my grandmother innocent. Before we left, the officer said in front of the noblewoman, addressing me and my grandmother, if anything happens, don't hesitate to come to the police station. I gave Winnie a big hug to thank her for the MP3 she gave me. It was meant to be your birthday gift all along. I've downloaded lots of great songs on it. Winnie, thank you. Let's be best friends forever. Okay, best friends forever. My grandmother took me back to our hometown, and Lena, whom I hadn't seen in a long time, came to visit. Mom. Mia is still my daughter after all. This year, her grandmother is celebrating her 60th birthday, and the elderly love a lively atmosphere. Please let Mia come home with me and Precious. I don't want to go. I refused outright. Grandma celebrates her birthday every year, but I've never attended even once. Now that my college entrance exams are over, she suddenly shows up. The day I checked my grades happened to be my grandmother's birthday. Go ahead, my grandma said. Show your grandmother that the child I, Fiona, raised is nothing short of excellent. Sis, go on, go on. Grandma has a birthday cake for her birthday, and it's delicious. Plus, Grandma is super generous. She gives red envelopes to every younger family member who comes to wish her a happy birthday. I looked at my grandma, then at Lena and Precious. Grandma, will you come with me, please? Mom, maybe you shouldn't go. My mother-in-law has never gotten along with you. Then Mia shouldn't go either. Grandma had the final say. At Grandma's birthday party, many people came, bringing so many gifts that they piled high on the table. This was the first time I saw my nominal grandmother, who had a plump figure, a rosy complexion, and eyes that disappeared when she smiled. Grandma was dressed in bright red clothes, warmly greeting everyone. In contrast, my maternal grandmother's back was no longer straight. Her figure was thin and small, and her face lacked flesh. With such a stark contrast, I suddenly realized that my maternal grandmother, though younger in age, appeared much older than my paternal grandmother. Seeing Grandma and me arrive, Granny took my hand. So this is our Mia. Fiona, you really don't know how to raise a child. Look how skinny our Mia is, just skin and bones. Look at how I've raised Precious. What a blessed figure she has. Precious rolled her eyes and said resentfully, I never wanted to gain so much weight. I prefer my sister's figure. Precious, take Mia to get some snacks. I want to catch up properly with my old friend here. Granny's house was an apartment building, which was quite rare. Few villagers build steel-framed concrete houses, but Precious has a room on the 3rd floor, a full 50 square meters, all for his bedroom. The bedroom has a desk, a wardrobe, a large bed, and even a private bathroom. Precious opens a cabinet, and snacks spill out, with a sweeping motion. He gathers them onto the bed. Sis, have some treats. Precious's bed is even cleaner and tidier than mine, and for a moment I didn't know where to sit. He pulled me down to sit and unwrapped some snacks for me. Although I had pocket money to buy snacks, I had never tasted such exotic treats before. After my dad was laid off from the state-owned factory, he became a contractor. He built our house. And originally there was a room for you on the 3rd floor too. But Grandma said you'd eventually get married and wouldn't need a room of your own. Sis, Grandma favors boys over girls. Don't take her words to heart, just treat them as nonsense. Mom and Dad are the same, piling all the pressure on me, saying the Harris family has had only one male heir for 3 generations, and pressuring me to quickly trick a girlfriend into coming home. I really envy you, sis. Grandma is the best elder I've ever known. Sometimes I really want to cut off the extra flesh between my legs, just to dash all their hopes. I looked at Precious. This was the first time I'd heard my biological brother say so much to me. Grandma once said, "Those who benefit from privilege will never empathize with those treated unfairly. They've grown accustomed to it, just as many men don't perceive their gender advantages, while women often feel the injustice. Because many men have never empathized with women. They simply think they were lucky to be born male." Precious is the only son of the Harry's family, raised with boundless affection. He blossomed like a white lotus, pure and untainted by the world's mud. I even felt ashamed for having once disliked him. "Precious, there's cake downstairs. Bring a piece up for Mia," Lena's voice called from below. Precious smiled and said, "Sis, wait till I get back. I'll show you my idol, Chanel. I have so many photos of her." Precious had just gone downstairs when a strange man was pushed into the house. My so-called father Harry shoved the man into the room and instructed him, like on TV, "Kiss her." Got it. The door was locked by Harry, and I was trapped in my brother's room with the strange man. "Pretty sister, I want a kiss," the man mumbled, rushing toward me. The experience of nearly being sexually assaulted by my grandfather suddenly replayed in my mind like a silent film, flashing before my eyes. Trembling with fear, I shouted loudly, "Don't come any closer." I ran to the window and screamed, "Help, help." The man dragged me back into the room. His strength was immense, and his obese body swayed as he moved. "Pretty girl, I want to be the groom. I want the wedding night." He pressed down on me, leaving me breathless. I heard the commotion outside. Grandma was being held back by the Harry's family relatives. Outnumbered and unable to fight them all, Precious begged Harry and Lena for the key. Wanting to set me free. "You can't get married without money. Once Mia is married and we have the bride price, you can find a wife," Lena said loudly. "Now that she's been touched, she'll have to get married sooner or later. Who would want her, tainted as she is?" Harry said, "Dad is doing this for your own good. We kept her all these years just to earn your bride price. Sending her to college is a waste of money. Once she gets educated, she'll grow wings and fly away." My grandmother was held back by relatives from my father's side, left to wail in agony, begging them to let me go. Listening to the voices outside the door, I shed tears of despair. I thought I was bringing my grandmother to gain face. But little did I know I was walking into a trap. I desperately clawed at the person on top of me. And he suddenly stopped. "Pretty girl, I like you, I like you." He swiftly got up, the weight of his fat body lifted off me, and I could finally breathe, but I still couldn't open the door. I found a small dagger on Precious's nightstand, unsheathed it, and watched him warily. "I won't take a wife. I won't let Mia marry a fool." Outside, Precious's stubborn voice rang out. The fool's mother immediately took offense when she heard her son called a fool. "My son is just a little slow, not a fool. His wisdom appears as folly. You people simply don't understand. His blessings are yet to come." I spent a fortune, a full 50,000 in bride price. Who in this village can afford such a high dowry? "If this doesn't work out, you'll have to pay me back 10 times the bride price." Grandma, afraid the cooked duck might fly away, tried to step forward and persuade Precious. Precious, out of nowhere, pulled out a pair of scissors and pointed them at his lower body. "I'm giving you an ultimatum. Release Mia right now, immediately, otherwise, the single male heir you've been dreaming of for 3 generations ends with me." I never knew there could be someone besides Grandma, Godmother, and Jim who would treat me so well. "Don't, Precious, don't be so foolish. That worthless thing isn't worth your kindness." "She's not worthless. She's my sister, my best sister," Precious said, pressing the scissors closer to her crotch. The onlookers buzzed with gossip and excitement. Grandma and parents turned pale with fear, terrified that Precious might do something they would regret for life and feel ashamed before their ancestors. "Open the door. Open it right now, immediately." Harry quickly took out the key from his pants pocket. "Even if the door is opened, won't my son still touch Mia? If my son doesn't want her, no one else will." The foolish man's mother showed a smug expression. "What's the use of trying so hard? In the end, won't she still be serving my son?" Precious rushed forward, grabbed the woman by the hair, and immediately landed several loud slaps across her face. "Fools have fortune, but idiots don't. Stay away from me. When I lose my temper, I love slapping bitches the most. For some people, all I can say is, my palm fits your face perfectly." The door opened, and I appeared unharmed before the crowd. The foolish man stretched out his arm toward me. "Pretty sister, pinch me, come on, pinch me. It feels so good when you pinch me. I love it." The pinch I gave to the foolish man seemed to trigger his masochistic tendencies, so I didn't suffer any harm. The villagers all mocked the fool for being truly foolish, alone in a room with a woman, yet he didn't know what to do. Grandma was released and quickly ran to me, looking at me anxiously. Grandma's perfectly good 60th birthday was ruined by their deliberate scheming and Precious's interference, leaving their hopes dashed and turning the event into a laughingstock for the entire village. The banquet continued. I needed to take Grandma home, but Precious grabbed my sleeve. Mia, your results will be out at noon. Let's check your scores. I could refuse others, but I couldn't refuse Precious, who had just helped me. Grandma nodded at me. Both she and Precious firmly believed I would get into a good university. The villagers just laughed. You really think you're cut out for studying? Not everyone can go to college. My son is checking his scores too. Let's compare. The one with lower scores pays the higher scorer 1,000 yuan. Dare to bet. Since when do girls from the village go to college? Her Mia won't be the exception, even if the results come out. At best I'll only get into a vocational college. I've heard that vocational colleges aren't great. They're pretty much the same as technical schools, just preparing you for factory work. Precious pulled a boy out from the crowd. I recognized him. He was from the same county high school as me, just in a different class. Your dad said he wants to make a bet. Do you dare to take it? Bet? Why wouldn't I dare? But I want to bet 10,000. If Mia scores lower than me, you give me 10,000 yuan. The question is, do you dare? The boy smugly raised his chin. She couldn't beat me in the mock exams. So how could she possibly outscore me in the actual college entrance exam? I hesitated. This guy had indeed been on the list every year, ranking higher than me. 10,000 yuan in the early 2000s was a huge amount of money. Then let's bet. Take the money out, put it on the table, and find someone to witness it. Precious said. Villagers often set up small gambling games, but this was the first time the stakes were so high. Seeing the two families about to gamble, they also wanted to join in and get a share of the pie. The boy's father went straight home to get the money, and the villagers also placed their bets. Small bettors put in $10, while big bettors put in 100. If I lose, Precious, who is on my side, will have to pay the other side 1-to-1. Grandma desperately pulled Precious back. I gave you so much money, not for you to squander it like this, you foolish child. How can Mia compare to Jack? Harry gritted his teeth in frustration. Precious, your mom and grandma have spoiled you rotten. 10,000 bucks. How long do you think it'll take me to earn that back? Back then, working himself to the bone outside, barely eating or drinking, he only made 10,000 a year, but stubborn as he was, once he made up his mind, there was no turning back. If the bet's set, then I'll be the witness. The blind fortune teller suddenly appeared in the yard. Once the bets are placed, no backing out, be careful. Or the blind fortune teller might foresee your family's misfortunes and keep them from you. No one paid attention to the prepared feast, their eyes fixed on the score-checking phones. Jack, smug with self-satisfaction, was the first to check his scores. Jack, total score, 443 points. Jack was quite satisfied with his score. This year's college entrance exam was somewhat difficult, but with this score, I'm definitely getting into a second-tier university. Mia. The cutoff score for vocational colleges has remained unchanged over the years at 180 points. Don't tell me you didn't even reach 180, you won't have anywhere to cry if that happens. It was my turn to check my score, and my hands were shaking so much I could barely hold my phone. Winnie and I had estimated our scores, but I was worried there might be too many variables. The amplified voice fell upon everyone's ears as the mechanical tone announced my scores. Chinese, 134, Mathematics, 142, English, 125, Chemistry, 86, Physics, 80, Biology, 82, Mia, total score, 649. My total score struck like a thunderbolt, plunging into everyone's hearts and leaving them all stunned and speechless. What should we do? Precious said with exaggerated sarcasm, her tone dripping with smugness. My sister is so amazing, scoring over 200 points higher than a certain someone. Jack's face darkened. He had never imagined I would score so high. The outcome is clear. Mia has won. Little fortune, all this money is yours now. Better keep it safe, the blind fortune teller reminded. Precious found a cloth bag and put the money inside. The others snapped out of their daze. Over 600 points. In all the nearby villages, not even the boys, let alone the girls, have ever scored over 600. They say this year's college entrance exam was tough. And the cutoff scores are expected to drop, yet Mia managed to score over 600. She must be heading to a university in Beijing. Harry's family must have struck gold. No, more like struck a gold mine. This is a top female scholar, no doubt about it. Fiona has really raised a college student, and one who can go to Beijing for university at that. Ever since my scores came out, the little old lady that is my grandmother hasn't stopped smiling. Her once hunched back suddenly seemed to straighten up. Grandma and my parents looked at me as if they'd won the lottery, their excitement making them forget what they had just done to me. The Harry's family actually has a college student. It must be your father watching over Mia from the other side. Grandma was brimming with pride as she held Harry's hand. The blind fortune teller wasn't wrong. My daughter has the fate of a phoenix, destined to support Precious. Harry's gaze toward me shifted from that of an ordinary commodity to a more valuable high-end item. I laughed, laughing at their foolishness. I won't repay them, I'll only love my grandmother. The villagers tried to track down the blind fortune teller, hoping he could divine their children's fates, only to find he had long since vanished without a trace. Instead, the roasted chicken on the table was completely gone. No need to guess. It was taken by the blind fortune teller. At that time, the college entrance exam score thresholds indeed dropped. For science, the first tier was 533, the second tier 474, the third tier 448, and the vocational college threshold was 180 points. I didn't go to Beijing. I attended the best university in the province and majored in Chinese herbal medicine. Jack's score was 5 points short of the third tier threshold, narrowly missing out on undergraduate admission. That day, Grandma still wanted me to stay overnight. What are you thinking? Do you want to trick my college-educated sister again? Precious refused Grandma's request. If Grandma really cared, all of you should be in jail. Luckily, nothing happened to my sister. Before leaving, Precious secretly slipped me a money bag. There's over 20,000 in here, which should be enough for your living expenses. Sis, I'm about to graduate soon, and I'm going to become a fashion designer. Once I start earning money, I'll take care of you. If it's not enough, just let me know. Don't you dare take a single penny from Mom, Dad, or Grandma. Once you owe them, they'll hold it over you and demand you support them later. I had no choice but to raise them, but you're different. You have no obligation to care for them. I didn't want it, but Grandma accepted it on my behalf. On the way home, Grandma told me, Precious is a kind child. He considers you now, and in the future, you'll think of him. The two of you, brother and sister, must support each other. The moonlight was beautiful that night. As Grandma led me home, it felt like I was a child again, being carried on her back as we walked through the dark. On the day I was about to report to school, Grandma fainted again. The doctor told me that not only had Grandma not undergone surgery, but some of her originally benign tumors had worsened and required emergency surgery. My godmother revealed the truth to me. Back then, when you were sold by that heartless Lena, your grandmother was devastated, and your grandfather and mother had no intention of spending money on her treatment. All these years, I'd been giving her traditional Chinese medicine to recuperate. On the surface, she appeared calm and composed, but in reality, only she truly understood her own suffering. The money Precious gave me was a godsend. Combined with the remaining funds at home, it was just enough to cover Grandma's surgery. Without hesitation, I asked the doctor to proceed with Grandma's operation. With teary eyes, she said, "It's my fault for being useless. This was supposed to be your living expenses. If I didn't have you, Grandma, I wouldn't even want to continue my education." Grandma was wheeled into the operating room, and my godmother and I waited outside. She gently pulled me closer by the shoulders. "Mia, don't worry. The doctor said it's just a minor surgery. Your grandma has great fortune, godmother. If anything happens to Grandma, you must never hide it from me again. Godmother will listen to you. Whatever happens, I'll tell you everything. No more secrets. You're an adult now, and sometimes you need to make your own decisions." After the surgery, following a period of hospital observation, my godmother and I brought Grandma back home. While Grandma was recuperating, I also needed to earn money for tuition and living expenses, so I chose to work as a helper in town. There were more job opportunities in the city, but I didn't want to leave the burden of caring for Grandma solely to my godmother. My godmother lived alone at home, as Jim, who was the same age as me, had already gone out to work. Jim sent his godmother a brand new flip phone in the rose gold color that girls love the most, saying it was a gift for my college admission. The first phone number he saved in the new phone was his own. Along with the phone, he also sent back 2,000 yuan. In the memo, he left a message: Mia, since we both grew up drinking my mom's milk, we're like siblings. No need to be polite, I'll wait for you to pay me back someday. Before school started, my grandfather was released from prison and returned home. Along the way, he listened to words of blessing and came home with a radiant, beaming face. Mia, you truly are my daughter, you've really made me proud. Everyone outside knew I wasn't actually my grandmother's daughter. It was just a decision my mother had to make to keep her job. I was registered under my grandparents' household registration by exploiting a legal loophole. But legally, I am my grandparents' daughter. Just thinking about what he did to me makes me sick. However, my grandmother uncharacteristically and thoughtfully gave the chicken soup sent by my godmother to my grandfather to drink. Bob, you've suffered all these years. Have some chicken soup to nourish your body. I really wanted to ask Grandma why she suddenly treated Grandpa so well. Grandpa's eyes turned moist as he drank the chicken soup in one gulp, saying with relief, Fiona, you should have treated me like this long ago. Haven't I been good to you all these years? Surely you knew. Tell me, how many men can be like me, never hitting their wives, never gambling or visiting brothels? It's not too late for you to finally see how good I've been to you. Grandpa glanced at me, his eyes lighting up. Fiona, Mia is so much like you were back then. Grandma's expression changed, and Grandpa quickly assured her, I treat her as my own daughter. I was drunk before and did something foolish, but it won't happen again, now, or ever. I fled to my room as if escaping, feeling furious at Grandma's actions. Gradually, I began to notice the changes in Grandpa, my grandfather, who used to shave every day, gradually grew less and less facial hair, until eventually, it stopped growing altogether. His once oily, pockmarked face became smooth and fair, and his skin improved. His Adam's apple became less prominent, and even his once rough voice turned gentle. I didn't know what was happening to him, so I asked my godmother if he was about to die from illness. It would be great if he really died. He won't die. I truly wish I could poison him to death. But your grandmother doesn't want to dirty her hands or commit murder. During this time, I've added plenty of herbs to the chicken and fish soups he's been drinking. He's no longer a man now. He might as well be your grandmother's sister. I stood there, stunned. Your grandmother would rather see him dead than give him another chance to hurt you. Only if he keeps his lower half in check will he not harm you. So, it turns out I had misunderstood Grandma. My interest in Chinese herbal medicine suddenly grew even more intense. I went to study, with Grandma as my study companion. Through introductions from college professors, I got many opportunities to tutor students. Seeing my strong college entrance exam results and understanding of learning, more and more parents sought me out. Grandma said to me with a smile, your daily earnings can match what some people make in a month. My sweetie is the most accomplished. One must never forget their roots. We should bring gifts to thank the teacher who introduced you to these jobs. Grandma will go with you. I explained the situation to the teacher, who was more than happy to help. Along the way, I told my grandmother that Professor Andy's class was very lively and interesting. Although he was my elective course teacher, I really enjoyed his lessons. The door wasn't closed, so I knocked, and someone inside called out, come in. Grandmother's body visibly stiffened for a moment. I thought she was nervous, as I had been quite anxious and apprehensive during my first visit to Grandma. Don't be afraid. Professor Andy is very approachable. The sight of roses filling the living room left me completely stunned. Fiona, let's start over. Okay. Professor Andy knelt on one knee, holding fresh roses in one hand and a diamond ring in the other. Andy, tell me, why didn't you come back for me back then? My parents are cultured people. They took it upon themselves to arrange a marriage for me. Besides, I did go back to look for you, but Bob said the child in your belly was his. Bob is the name of my grandfather. You believed it. He said you have a red mole on your left buttock. It's impossible for us. It was impossible before. It's impossible now. And it will never be possible in the future. Grandma took me away, and suddenly many things became clear to me. Why did Professor Andy feel like an old friend at first sight? Why did he offer me a job? Why did he invite me to dinner? Why did he repeatedly ask about my grandmother? I only knew that my grandmother once had a person she loved the most, but I never imagined that person was my philosophy teacher, Andy. I used to fantasize about his return, but he never did. The day your mother was born, I completely gave up on him. Grandma, a man like that doesn't deserve you at all. Andy's children live far away abroad, and his wife passed away years ago. He tried to win back my grandmother with cliched, tacky romantic gestures, but she wouldn't relent. Andy even found Lena and Harry, and the couple took turns trying to persuade Grandma, "Mom, Professor Andy is my biological father. He's a renowned professor and the man you loved most. You never liked Bob anyway. Now that my real dad is here, you two should enjoy your golden years together," Lena said excitedly. "Mother-in-law, my dear mother-in-law, Precious has graduated, but fashion design is just a dead-end factory job. My construction work isn't steady either. For Precious and Mia's sake, you can't keep acting like this. Professor Andy is from high society. If we connect with him, we can climb the social ladder," Harry said with an air of exasperation. "As soon as I got home and saw my parents treating Grandma like this, I grabbed a broom to shoo them away. Grandma passed out. And I had the doctor give her a full checkup. Grandma was dazed, and she opened her eyes to tell me, 'I won't take a single penny from Andy. I owe him nothing.' The doctor told me Grandma's ribs were broken, and her bones were in poor condition." I stared at him in disbelief, pointing at the x-ray on the computer screen. "Why, perhaps they were hurt before. You'll have to ask the patient. Can it be cured?" "Yes, but it requires more rehabilitation therapy and more money. We'll pay whatever it takes to treat her." Andy alone could easily provide the money to save Grandma, but he had one condition. He wanted to marry her. I refused. Lena scolded me. "Your grandmother needs money for treatment, and you're turning it down. Do you want to drown in debt?" "How could I? So clever all my life. Have such a foolish daughter." Harry yelled at me. "Mia, you'd rather suffer than enjoy the good life. Why can't you be more like me? I'm not asking you to spend a single penny. So keep your opinions to yourselves." Slap. Harry struck me across the face without hesitation. I wiped the blood from my nose. "Lena, Harry, don't come begging to me someday. I'll make sure you live a life worse than death." I still didn't have enough money, so I asked Winnie and Jim for loans. I don't know where Precious got the news, but he proactively transferred money to me. The borrowed money, combined with my savings, barely covered my grandmother's surgery and medical expenses. My grandmother told me that back in my senior year of high school, that wealthy couple discovered my existence and wanted to harm me. My grandmother took the beatings and punishments for me, begging them not to harm me. "They have money and power. I just wanted to protect you." The more I yielded and compromised, the less they would touch you. They even thought about sabotaging your college entrance exams. But thankfully, I endured it all. The injuries on my grandmother's body happened too long ago to serve as evidence against that couple. Yet, whether it was fate or their own doing, on the day my grandmother was discharged from the hospital, they were thrown into prison. According to news reports, they were involved in multiple crimes including tax evasion, bribery, organ trafficking, and the murder of young girls. They even recorded videos of assaulting Grandma, with multiple offenses combined. They were sentenced to death. Grandma didn't accept Andy's heartfelt confession or engage in a twilight romance with him. She only wanted to stay by my side. While I was working, I pampered Grandma, and she grew more plump, becoming like a delicate little old lady. The new house in my hometown was built long ago, decorated in the courtyard style that both my grandmother and I love. People in the village are all talking about my supposed million-yuan annual salary. They're so envious, saying they couldn't earn what I make in a year even in 8 lifetimes. After making money, the first thing I did was repay all my previous debts, and I gave multiples more to the friends who helped me during my toughest times. At the age of 28, I quit my million-yuan-a-year job and returned to the village with my grandmother. Our research institute found that the soil pH, climate, and temperature in the village are all suitable for growing medicinal herbs. When I returned to the village to cultivate medicinal herbs, everyone laughed at me for being too reckless, but my herb cultivation directly created jobs for our village, providing employment for those unwilling to work elsewhere. My success has inspired many families in the surrounding villages to send their daughters to school rather than pushing them into early work or marriage. Someone said, "You should strive to be as amazing as your sister Mia." Others remarked, "What's the point of being so capable? She's almost 30 and still doesn't have a man. Earning all that money is useless." On her deathbed, Grandma asked to see me, but I refused. Lena and Harry cursed me behind my back. Soon, Grandpa also died. He drank himself to death, and by the time he was found, his body had already begun to rot. After all, every holiday, I would bring high-proof liquor to visit him in his old house. Andy also passed away. Before his death, he wanted to see Grandma, but she refused without a second thought. Before he died, unwilling to give up, he sent multiple letters, all of which Grandma burned to ashes. The blind fortune teller I introduced went to the best eye hospital in Beijing, and I paid for his eye treatment. He probably never imagined he would one day regain his sight. Jim got married, and I didn't give a red envelope. The villagers mocked my godmother, Helen. Look at this ungrateful wretch who drank your milk back then. Now that your son is married, he didn't even give a gift. You've earned so much money, but not a penny of it benefits you. My godmother pretended to lament. No, he didn't give a gift, not a single penny, but my Mia bought my Jim a large flat outright within the third ring road of the provincial capital. It's not as big as a rural house, just 140 square meters, and it wasn't expensive, just a mere million or so. The envious ones gritted their teeth in hatred. All eager to befriend my family, the ones who regretted the most were undoubtedly my parents. Precious never got married. He worked away from home, unwilling to return, and the two of them grew anxious until their hair turned white. One day, Jim said to me, "Do you know why Precious has been so good to you? Why? Do you remember those boys who used to bully you back then?" "I remember. They also bullied your brother. When he was little and went to the bathroom, he would squat to pee and spoke in a girly voice. They even hit his private parts with a cane. At the time, you didn't know he was your brother, but seeing him pitiful, you asked me to chase away his bullies. I told him I wouldn't bother with his business. You're my sister, so I'd do it for you." He probably never forgot that. Precious gives me a feeling that he's too gentle. Sometimes I even think he's quite effeminate. I didn't know that my unintentional actions would make Precious remember for so long, and even later, he was willing to help me many times. Precious was still tricked into returning home, with Lena pretending to be sick, claiming she had cancer and didn't have long to live. After returning home, Harry forced him to get married. He pulled something out from his crotch and threw it at the elderly couple. It was a used sanitary pad. "You gave birth to me. But all you wanted was for me to carry on the family line. But do you know, you gave birth to an intersex person. I am both a man and a woman." Lena fainted from shock at the sight of the bloody sanitary pad. She had always wanted a son, even resorting to taking dubious remedies like gender-changing or sun-bearing potions, whether it was due to the medicine or perhaps genetic factors. Precious ended up becoming intersex. She refused to believe that her son was intersex. They took Precious to the hospital, where the doctor said both sets of his reproductive systems were fully functional. With surgery, he could live as a normal person. The surgery cost a fortune, and they had little savings. Lena pleaded with me, "Your brother is sick. You can't just abandon him. Whether he can become a normal person depends on you. Remember when you went to college? He secretly gave you over 20,000 yuan. Harry yelled, "You were born by me, so you must support us. Give money to treat your brother's illness. It's your duty." Holding my grandmother's hand, I said, "Sorry, but no law states that I have to support my sister and brother-in-law. The only person I've ever needed to support is Ms. Fiona. If you dare not give me the money, I'll die right in front of you." Lena held a dagger to her own neck. "I really want to see them get their comeuppance. But I don't want that retribution to fall on my younger brother. A kind child like him shouldn't become a sacrificial lamb." But before I could respond, my godmother came running over. "Something terrible has happened." Precious cut off his manhood with scissors. Lena fainted, unable to catch her breath. Harry was so furious he spat out blood, the crimson droplets splattering onto me. I drove Precious to the hospital in time, and the doctor asked me, "You made it just in time. We can still reattach it. Did you bring the thing?" "That thing? I didn't see it." I rushed into the bathroom. "You won't find it, sis. I don't want to be a man anymore. I've seen a psychologist, and the doctor said I'm truly female psychologically. I think that's probably why I can empathize with women's experiences." The doctor performed surgery on Precious, completely removing his male characteristics and transforming him into a woman. Lena's despair proved prophetic. She was diagnosed with cancer, and it was already in its late stages. Suddenly coming to her senses, she said to Precious, "Stay with me for a few days. After I'm gone, live your own life and be good to your sister. I've failed her too much." Harry stubbornly believed that he had failed his ancestors, who had only one male heir for 3 generations. He abandoned his sick wife in bed, indulged in debauchery, and sought other women outside, hoping to continue the family line. This woman is destined for nobility. Born with a fortune-bestowing fate, in the future, the entire family will rely on her to rise to prominence. This goes without saying. Replaced, she left quickly, as if without much suffering, and was gone. Later, Harry failed to produce a son and instead contracted a filthy disease, becoming deranged. He often muttered, "My daughter is a phoenix, I should have treated her better. Then I could have enjoyed prosperity." He died, drowned in the river where he had originally intended to drown me. Precious changed her name and built her own career. She once told me her greatest idol was Chanel, and now I see her on TV as a top fashion designer. Winnie became an aerospace designer. That radiant girl now has a supportive husband and adorable children. She stands at the pinnacle, engaged in great endeavors. I never married, dedicating my entire life to the Chinese herbal medicine career I passionately pursued. Jim and his wife had a second child, and they gave their daughter to me through adoption. I'm raising this little girl just as my grandmother once raised me. I hope she lives a free and unrestrained life. My grandmother lived very well, free from illness or pain, and passed away at the age of 102. By then, I was already 65 years old. Grandma's diary became what I read most often later, its pages worn from handling, the handwriting faded. I typed out the contents bit by bit on the computer, wanting to preserve the love Grandma left for me. Grandma, I love you. I really, really love you so much. Without you, there would be no me. I changed my surname to my grandmother's, and now I'm called Mia Duncan. Grandmother wrote in her diary, "Others are just stars lost in the crowd, but my sweetie is different. She's the one and only moon. Grandma, I'm your little girl. Next life, I really want to be your daughter for once. Or switch it around. You could be my daughter too." After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.